I act like a kid in the candy store with life now. So,
isn't it amazing? I mean, coming from a place where life is so hard and everything's so difficult, and they did this to me and they did that to me, and I'm living on the whims of the world's needs and desires, to woohoo, let's go.
mm-hmm.
And it's really fun to watch people go through the transformation process. And I'm not gonna kid you, it's hard work. You have to look at, what you have to become real. We all grow up in this ego-based society as children, and then at age 20 or so we go and try and figure out who we are, and then go through the life process, and there's not a lot of programs out there really to help you discover and uncover all the garbage to find out who you are. And so people, like you said, continue to live and go to work and just do the same old thing, keeping their head down and nose to the grindstone and not really making any waves until one day they go, what is this all about, really?
Yeah. And that brings us back to what you were saying again about the reward and punishment system that we grow up with. You can liken it to unconditional love and conditional love. When we were kids, our authority figures obviously were our parents or our teachers or our religions or whatever, and we used to look up to them, and we were rewarded with unconditional love when we were good little boys and girls. And boy, if we screwed up, all of a sudden, that love was taken away.
Mm-hmm.
And there was conditions put on love. And so that's like an underlying theme with humanity as well, that reward, punishment, that unconditional love and conditional love. And I think that's why, sometimes you're driving down the highway and somebody will let you in on the ramp, and some people won't.
It really is about how you're being, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, what you say is really poignant, but one of the things that I really work hard with and have found now I play hard with, and is throughout the book and the training program, is that you need to learn to love yourself. Mm-hmm. Because once you learn to love yourself and accept yourself and understand who and what you really are, it doesn't really affect you how other people think about you, or and I heard somebody say this once, it's none of my business what you think of me. But I love that, and I love, you can't be responsible for what other people hold as reality in their mind.
And the other side of that is you don't judge people either.
Right. You see
if they want to do
as amazing.
Right. So let's get back to your book.
Okay.
How would you describe conscious living?
It is about paying attention that life is what you say it is. We see that in, my first concept of that was through the Seth material.
Yeah.
And then just recognizing in my own life, watching how if I changed my belief about something, changed my perception, things would change. That people's attitude would change, my feelings would change, and events would happen. We talk. Mm-hmm. You talk a lot about manifestation, but it really is aligning yourself with what they call source energy and the laws of conscious living, which really are about the laws that work within the construct, our reality. And so it is what you say it is, and what you believe creates your reality. But there are some structures that are in place about reality Now you can learn to bend those, much like what we saw in the Matrix. You can bend reality to your desires, but you still have to live within the codes and the principles of how reality works. And some of these are gravity, for example. We know now that gravity is always around us, but we also know that we can create anti-gravity. That's how we send rockets and, fly in the air. We can defy gravity, but you have to work within the laws of physics to do that. And so basically, living consciously in an ego-driven society, the book is about it is what you say it is. And here's some ways that you can look at your perceptions and beliefs. Here's how it worked in my life. And then recognize that, you still have to work within this construct as long as you're in this construct. Until you've ascended, become an ascended master, you still have some of the laws of conscious living that you need to pay attention to. And, like the law of belief, for example. There's the law of observation. You ever notice that when you buy a new car, all of a sudden you see that car everywhere?
Well, yeah, you see it before you buy it, too. I mean, if you're deliberately creating, that is your first indication that it's on its way to you. You'll see them everywhere.
Sure. So, absolutely. Understanding that you have to observe it for it to become part of your reality. But what quantum physicists have now discovered, and what we've known for a long time, is that the more you focus on something, the more real it becomes. And that's part of the law of observation, the law of knowledge. The more you know about something, the more power you have over it. For example, if you understand how to use a computer, the more you know about it, the more you can make it do tricks.
Right, and here really we're talking about beliefs again. I mean, the majority of us have a belief that gravity is a real culprit on the planet, and you can't walk off buildings, and you can't walk on water, and so those are what you're describing as constructs,
mm-hmm.
but they are belief systems in disguise.
Exactly. But there are also ways to bend those beliefs. There's ways to bend the principles and laws that are in this construct, and it's by recognizing that the construct really is it's something that is created in the mind.
Right. It's very illusionary. Boy, we could do about 5 shows, Karen. I see that you're very knowledgeable about a lot of different things. So let's get back to the book here as far as ego is concerned.
Okay.
Is there anything wrong with the ego?
I think that, again, it's about what you believe. And from my perspective, from this point of view, I don't think there's anything wrong with the ego. I think it has its purpose. And its purpose is to point us into the direction of where we need healing. And
okay, so let's explore that a little bit.
Okay.
Because, you hear a lot of so-called gurus out there, hey, we got to get rid of the ego. That's the enemy here. And I never felt, that didn't sit right with me. So you're saying that it can be a useful tool to point us to where we need to heal.
Sure. Now, as a coach, you know that one of the most poignant gifts that we have is our intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that helps us with our intuition is watching how people project onto one another. And what it allows us to do is recognize they're saying X, Y, Z about so-and-so, which means that there's something in them that resonates with that. There's an issue with that because they're having problems with it. They're seeing it out in their reality because it's inside of them. So that's where we go. If somebody has a trouble because nobody lets them on the on-ramp, consistently they're not getting on the on-ramp, and they have to go to the next on-ramp because they always miss their exit. Nobody will let them on, blah, blah, blah. Where in their life are they not allowing for others? Where in their life are they not taking care of their responsibilities? Where are they not seeing the opportunities? And this is how the ego points us in the direction. And by using it as a tool to allow us to see what's hurt inside of us, and it, typically goes back to childhood. They never got the extra portion of dessert. Who knows what their story is, but we all make things up. We all make things mean things that have happened in our life. So you had a childhood event. You made it mean something. Then you go out and you create it in your reality. And then you look for evidentiary experience that this is the way that life is.
Right. You validate your beliefs.
Mm-hmm. And that's how the ego works, is by helping you stay in that, helping you bring other evidentiary proof that this is the way the world works. And until you recognize, this is really tough. I don't really want to believe this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden there's a switch that goes on, and you recognize, I need some help with this. I need to be healed in this way. And I think that's what the ego is really here to do. And what I think happened in our society somewhere and in the human race is we identified ourselves as the ego. And that was I think that created a disconnect.
Okay, that's a nice way to put it.
Between us and spirit.
Right. We've got one of the listeners who want to ask you a question.
Oh, sure.
You're on the line. Shadow knows?
Only the shadow knows.
Yes. You have a question?
Well, I wanted to ask what you were talking about earlier, referring to gravity as a belief system. That if you refer to gravity as a belief system, then you're saying that this massive nuclear reactor at the center of our solar system has a belief in gravity. Or this nice little green, blue, brown rock floating around it has a belief system. It's at one point, I really I can respect what you're trying to get the message across in terms of mind over matter.
Mm-hmm.
But at one point, you're drawing a comparison of gravity being a belief system. Well, just because you don't believe in gravity doesn't mean you're not going to fall if you try to jump off a building.
First of all, I didn't say that I didn't believe in it. Obviously, I do believe in it because I trip and fall all the time. So this is the point, though. We live in an illusionary reality that is all inside our heads. Okay, quantum physics will point to the fact that everything out there is really in here. It's in our heads. It's just vibratory patterns that we put together